Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a new build. I thought today we'll try and focus on a little bit of a different aspect of the build. So we're going to focus on more of the mentality of it this time. I started off here with very little in the ways of a solid plan. The idea was just that I wanted to build in this location and somewhere close to water, preferably a build that extended out over it. That's what we've got here. As you can see, this is where the camp is now. We are not too far from the relay tower there, and Sunshine Meadows Industrial Farm. Flatwoods is just over here. The lumber mill just over there. Lot 76. And that's Alpine River Cabins, which is the closest place to us. And if you follow the corner of the cursor down here, coming out the back of Alpine River Cabins, there's a little river that comes to this sort of pond where we are, and then runs all the way down to the river at the edge of the map here. And that's how I actually found this place, following it up from the road at the edge there. But it's a nice secluded little location, and the presence of Alpine River Cabins unfortunately does make for an interesting atmosphere, being as the place is haunted. But other than that, it's quite a cool little location. I like it. So what I had in mind here, beyond building out over the water, was use what I've got available and something that fits in with the environment, focusing on the concrete foundations because it stops things spawning underneath. We're going to start by just laying out a basic foundation. We're going to adjust the height here so that bit of grass doesn't clip through, which, courtesy of no respawns, I know is now quite easy to do. You just hold the place button after you've initially placed the object and use the mouse wheel on PC or the stick on a controller just to lift it straight up. So we've got that in place. I'm going to tweak the position a bit. The big thing with this one, as I didn't have a hard and fast plan before I went into building it, is to avoid falling into that trap of building something that's basically just a box, which is very easily done with the limited set of pieces we have available. So I can't snap this one on the side here, but for some reason it works there, possibly because of the amount of the ground sticking out. This is where our little pier is going to be. Going to go onto the wooden pieces there. There we go, that's the Alpine River Cabins in the distance. I'm using the wooden foundations just because they look more like a pier rather than the concrete ones. We'll get some walls in. So, as I say, because I didn't have a particular plan in mind, it's a case of build something, look at it, and see what we can do to make it look a little bit more interesting. We'll keep reviewing and adjusting things, so in a sense it's probably not the most coherent build in the world, but it's a practical approach for creating something that looks a little bit more interesting than the basics. A couple of doors in there. As you can see, we've got literally a 2x2 box right now. Put the staircase in, but I'm not happy with how that looks or the overall shape. So we're going to head around the outside and expand out a little bit. The sunset giving us a very yellow view here. There was a little concern that there's going to be a bit more grass clipping through the floor there than I thought, but the bulldozer feature's doing its thing, so that helps. Unfortunately, these staircases, as we discovered very early on, are a total nightmare to move, so we basically have to pull all the walls off that are connected to them, like that, and now we can move it. And then we'll stick the walls back in, there we go. So, as I tried in my very first build, and basically failed with, I want to put a bit of a mezzanine on this one, which actually works out much better this time around. We can put a little bit of floor on the edge there because we can't snap a railing onto the staircase. And unfortunately, I can't get the floor to snap through this staircase there either for this particular build. So we'll have to go with it as is. So for here, I've moved the door over to the edge because it creates a slightly different profile. It makes it look a little bit more interesting than just the basic, but it still needs a little bit more work. I'll start by putting on the upper walls. Rather than just having it be square at the top, we're going to use these half walls and some triangular end walls. Top arches are labelled as, but there we go. Just to put a bit of an angle and a slope onto the roof to change the profile of the build quite considerably. Get those roofs put in. There we go. I do apologise for the fact it's going dark. It's going to do that a couple of times. It's one of the mixed blessings, I suppose, of the change to how light it is at night. There we go. Fences are under the defences tab. Yeah, one of the changes to how light it is at night means that it's a much more subtle transition. You know, half the time I don't even notice it's got dark. But we can see clearly enough, so that's the main thing. I did want to put a gate here over the staircase, but unfortunately I can't have both, it would seem, so we're going to turn around onto this corner again and just change the front edge a little bit, put a little sticking out section here, which is a very simple method to completely change up the shape of the building. It's dead easy, quite relatively subtle thing to do, but makes the whole thing appear much less boxy. Pull down, just stick that wall in. It wants to play ball. There we go. We have a bit of an issue with server lag going on here. We'll get that floor piece in. And there we go. So, there we go. Looking much less boxy. A bit more of an interesting profile, but still pretty ugly at the moment. So I'm going to make a few more adjustments. Back up to where we just were. It's a little bit we've added on. I'm going to angle this top corner a bit. A bit more character. That leaves us with enough room to get stuff in. Occasionally you have issues with getting furniture placed under the roof, but you can just pull it off, place the furniture, and then snap the roof back on, no problem. And there we go, slightly more interesting profile. This front wall is still a little blank and boring, and putting a window in on the ground floor doesn't do much to help that. So I'm going to swap these two over, put the half wall at the bottom when it wants to cooperate, there we go, and then put the window in higher up, which looks a little odd, but it adds to the character. Unfortunately, because of the pieces we've got behind it, it doesn't want to snap, so we'll pull out a few bits and pieces there for the moment. Build order, as usual, being imperative. There we go. Windows in now. Close up the gaps. There we go. A little bit more interesting again. So with this corner, I couldn't get a fence to go around the inside of that corner. It's just the way they're designed, unfortunately. So we're going to put this extra foundation on and just wrap the whole balcony around the outside of the building. I've shown that there on its own because looking at the back you see that's still very plain and boring. So it's something we'll be coming back to actually off camera, but I'll talk you through it when the tour comes. For now, my original thought here was to put a little lean-to on the back of the building, just so I could have somewhere to put a power generator. I ended up changing it up just to, again, adjust the profile of the building a little bit. So, another little walkway here, little balcony. Once again, trying to break up that flat back edge. And again, we can't get a gate in here. I'm going to change it in a minute because that tree sort of behind the gate there is right at the bottom of the stairs. It really doesn't work properly, so this is where we're going to mix things up a bit more. Pull that apart. We'll grab this wall on the right in a moment. There we go. Put that on the end there. And create another angled sort of little alcove. You just put a half wall on here and then put a low roof on it. Again, just change up the levels, change up the angles, keep things looking a bit more interesting. There we go. Get this inverted corner piece on. There we go. A little closey, but has a lot more character to it. So I'm just going to adjust this because I'm not happy with where the stairs are. That tree there on the right that's bugging me. One drawback to this location is I seem to get attacked every time I come here, usually by some form of robot, occasionally by scorched or ferals as well. I could change that roof piece over. In hindsight, probably didn't need to do that, but we did, so there we go. And one last significant change. I'm going to just swap these roof pieces out for the corner pieces, just to, again, change up the profile so we haven't got one long flat slope there. Flat slope? Doesn't make a right lot of sense, but you know what I mean. Continuous slope. Using these inverted corner pieces also changes up the profile on the inside as well as the outside. There you go. Much more interesting. And gives it a significantly more characterful look. So, got the thing fully decorated. There's a couple of changes have been made that I'll talk you through. Ended up doing during the decoration phase. Some mute fruit out front just to give it a little bit of A little bit more depth, a little bit more character. Punji boards are supposed to keep enemies from attacking the building directly, but they spawn on here, so doesn't really work. A few crafting stations, some of the antique oil lamps there. Pick those up in the White Spring. A little pier here I wanted a roof over. I tried using metal posts, but I still had to use one wall at the very least, so it didn't end up looking very good. This is what we went with, just a couple of walls and some windows. Still not quite happy with it, but it is what it is. I've extended the back balcony out around the back of the building there as well, so I've got somewhere to put the generator on. Dead simple little bit of building there. I've used the windows just to keep it sort of feeling reasonably open and light. A few potted plants for decoration. A couple of plants from the atomic store there. Not really happy with that table, but at the moment I've got a bit of a lack of options, so I wanted something in there. It doesn't sort of fit in with everything else. A couple of bearskin rugs. Could do with a few more soft furnishings, sofas, that sort of thing, seats. But for now, we've got everything we need down there. Let's have a quick look upstairs. Little desk, some candles, a lamp. That's a bed I picked up from White Spring as well. So my bed options are a bit limited at the moment, so I've gone with this one, even though it's a bit ridiculous to shove it in the corner like that. See, that little arch gives it far more character than it would otherwise have had. Quite happy with how that looks. A nice little feature of the build. Floor unfortunately butts right up against that raised window there, but it works, so. Fireplace from the atomic store. Managed to get all the crafting stations, well, most of them in here and a couple outside. That high-tech power armor station fits under the stairs reasonably well. The other version of it, unfortunately, being a bit tall, I didn't want to go in there. But that's fine. Tinker's bench in the corner. Let's have a look outside. A little seating area. I was going to have a couple more chairs out here, but I ran out of cloth, unfortunately. Just fenced off the generator there in case anybody does actually get up here, so it makes it harder for them to attack it. Nice little view out back. So I wanted this area to be a kind of, I suppose, kitchen garden. We've got a few blackberries out here. I've subsequently added a couple of corn plants as well. Mix the windows up a little bit so they're off-centre to each other, just break up that form factor a bit more. Still a little bit flat, but not too bad on the back. And it is the back after all. And a convenient porta cabin out here as well. The doors were not so much a conscious choice because of their style as they were because of the way they open. Some of them don't look right if you turn them around in order to have them open in the right direction, so I had to use these basic shack ones, but they work okay. There we go. Nice build with a bit of character to it. Extends out over the water. We've just mixed up a few bits and pieces, changed the angles, changed the profile here and there. Keep the thing looking reasonably interesting. Very simple, very easy to do. The whole thing took me maybe 2 hours tops. That's with a lot of running around in circles thinking about it as well. So, not too difficult really. We're pretty close to the build budget. I do have quite a few things stored as well, so that's probably got a lot to do with it. But no need to clear those out as I've got everything I need and want, so. I do like the way these oil lamps and the lanterns look at night. I wish I had a little bit more light on the inside, but gives it a bit of colour and atmosphere, which is cool. A look down on our pier here. Originally on the edge of this pier I did have fences, like we've got around the rest of the balcony, but it left it feeling a little too open and incomplete really, which is what motivated me to switch things up a bit. I could swing around the inside. For some reason that drum is under stringed instruments, which I'm not quite sure why. It's a bit of a stretch, but I suppose it's a snare drum, so it does have a string on it. But not much point giving it its own tab, I suppose. There we go. Looking reasonably cosy. Had some electric lights that had a bit of colour to them. Maybe that might be a better option, just because it'd put out a little bit more light rather than having it being so dingy. And unfortunately we can't put a railing around the edge of the stairs here, which is a bit of a pity. I mean, it makes it easy to move around because it just jumps straight down, but it does look a little unfinished. Still, can't have everything, I suppose. Need a few more lights, really, on the crafting stations as well. But it's homely. Reasonably homely, anyway. There's one change from Fallout 4 that I'm not so massively impressed with. The fire barrels don't put out half as much light as they used to, and it's a kind of weird blue light instead of the fiery orange light. They're much better as they were in Fallout 4. So it probably means they take up less sort of build budget, because they were particularly intensive to build in Fallout 4. But it is what it is. There we go. Characterful cabin in the woods. I do hope that was interesting and you enjoyed that little build. If you did like it, and do hit those buttons for me, it's always very, very much appreciated. Social media links down below should be popping up somewhere about now as well. And do see if you could stop by and catch me on one of the streams as well with a nice chilled out bit of fun. For now, thank you very much for watching. I will be speaking to you all very, very soon.